Hello guys and welcome to another edition of Rage Against the Dice. Today is something a little bit different. Now it is an unboxing video, absolutely, and that's not uncommon on the channel. But as you can see, this video is quite long in length. Now the reason for that is, it's less of an unboxing video per se, and it's more of a hobby diary. So, as you can see before you, I have some orc and goblins. Well, technically at this stage I just have some night goblins. Because we're delving into Warhammer Old World. Now, I'm going to do a little story time for you. I know you don't care, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So back in the many years ago, when I was just an 11-year-old boy, I'd played Hero Quest, I'd played Space Crusade. Yes, I am that old. And I was in Games Workshop in the Metro Centre, which is in the northeast of England. It's a big shopping centre. And I went in, and I'm pretty sure I've told this story multiple times before, especially if you used to follow the live streams that we did on Instagram. But yeah, so I went in, and a very enthusiastic Games Workshop member of staff came up to me, as they do, as I did when I was a Games Workshop member of staff. And they said, "What do you prefer, dragons or tanks?" And me, without missing a beat, said dragons, because, well, yeah, dragons, obviously. I've always been much more of a fantasy player than I have a 40k player, or when I'm reading stuff, I prefer fantasy to sci-fi. It's just who I am. It's in my nature. So, I went over, and I was instantly fell in love with Skaven. And so I had Skaven for many years. I've had many other armies. And then when the old world was kind of, kind of blown up, I sold off most of my armies. I kept one or two in case I wanted to play with friends. Now, I am very much of the opinion that just because a game dies, it doesn't mean you can't play it anymore. And as you guys know from our channel, we play a lot of old games, more time, Warhammer historicals, lots of them. There's lots of Legends of the Old West, another good example. But we play dead games. But you need somebody to play against, and most of my friends got rid of their fantasy armies as well. So obviously the old world's come back out. I was absolutely adamant I wasn't going to get involved. And then the Orcs and Goblins got released. And I've always wanted an Orc and Goblin army. Now, I worked for Games Workshop. I've worked for independent stockists. I could have bought an Orc and Goblin army at any time. And I didn't. Do you know why? Because I'm an idiot. No, but also because I didn't realise that the old world was going to get nuked. So I kept putting it off. Because Orcs and Goblins are a staple. They've always been there. They'll always be there. You guys get it. You get it. So even though I've had like a Savage Orc army for fantasy, and I had some Goblins for Age of Sigmar, like the bad moony ones, I've never done a traditional Orc and Goblin army. So this is what I'm going to do. So as you can see here, I've started with Night Goblins. Now the reason for that is, I just love Squigs. I just love Squigs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up little 750 point armies of, like, 750 points of Night Goblins, 750 points of normal Goblins, 750 points of, like, Savage Orcs, and then 750 points of normal Orcs, which means that I can make little 1500 point lists, which is the size we tend to play at our club, or I have a lot to mix and match to make 2000 points. So I kind of want to document that journey. So I thought, if I go Night Goblins first, because I love Squigs, and I love Night Goblins, I've got a cheeky little bid on eBay for the old Battle for Skull Pass, Shaman, and Night Goblin Boss, or Big Boss, or whatever they're called these days. Is it Odd Boy and Big Boss, off the top of my head? But yeah, so I've got some bids on those because I love those models. They're iconic. Oddly enough, I've owned about 6 copies of Battle for Skull Pass, and I just kept giving the Goblins away to people because it was when I was building my dwarf army when I worked for Games Workshop, and so I needed all the dwarves, so I just gave away those Goblins to different people. Dumbest decision of my life. But yeah, so what we're going to do within this video is we are going to unbox all of these, and we're going to have a look at them, because I have never seen the new Squig Hoppers kit, and I've never seen the Squig Herders kit. When I previously had purchased Squig Hoppers and Squig Herds which were usually to convert up for 40k based things. Yeah, I did. I had squig hoppers as bombs, like squig bombers, and I had squig herds as squig bombers as well, because they looked cool. They looked so much cooler than the one that you got in the metal, which was then Finecast set. So yeah, so they were all metal though when I used to have squigs. I've never owned plastic squigs, and I'm excited for this, outside of the odd one that's on sprues in 40k stuff. And the Night Goblins, I painted up many a Night Goblin in my time, because when I first started at Games Workshop, Battle for Skull Pass, as I mentioned, was the game. That was the version of fantasy that was out. So I did a lot of painting up of Night Goblins for varying reasons. Painting challenges, or painting lessons, or just painting up some to go in cabinets and things like that. So I have a lot of experience in painting Night Goblins, is really where I'm going with that. I've painted a lot of Orc and Goblins, to be fair, because we used to play Warhammer Quest and we used to buy all the stuff. That was another reason I never bought an Orc and Goblin army, because that was my sister's army. When I first got into fantasy, the starter set was Goblins and High Elves. My dad got the High Elves, my sister got the Goblins, which we then filled out with Orcs and other stuff from Warhammer Quest, and I had Skaven. So it was another reason I didn't have them. So yeah, I'm off tangenting. As I said, less of an unboxing video, more of a hobby diary. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show off all the sprues, which is why we're not splitting this into 3 separate ones, so I can get extra content. I'm going to build some of these. Maybe I'll build some on camera, maybe I won't. I'm going to maybe paint up a squig, maybe paint up a Night Goblin. But yeah, so this is more of a hobby diary than it is a video. And I want to take you guys along with me. And the eventual goal is that I'll have a fully painted Warhammer Old World army that I can then play games against. There's guys at our gaming club play, which is really cool. Sparks is looking at maybe dwarves, maybe ogres, because ogres, although don't have an official list or a legends list, you can still play them, I think. And very, very, very far in the future, when they finally, if ever, come out, Sparks wants Kislev. So, you know, we will be playing it on the channel once we've got painted up stuff. And as I said, I want to take you guys through and do this. Now, these come with round bases, and I have stacks and stacks of 20mm bases. However, these are 25mm now, because of course they are. So Vince has printed me some off. So what I'm going to have to do for the time being is steal 20 out of here. You get 40 in one of these boxes. You get 40 goblins, which is pretty cool. So I can build up my archers, and I can build up my first couple of ranks of spearmen, and then I can base these guys. And then when I see Vince, he can give me the rest of the bases to do these. Now, as it's part of the hobby, this hobby diary, you are absolutely, by the time I've finished this whole first part of the video, I'll already have them, basically, is what I'm saying. So to use, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to open up these boxes. I'm going to take a look inside. There's a little bit of nostalgia with these Night Goblins, because it's the same Night Goblins from when I first was back when I worked for Games Workshop, basically. They're very old. They're not, when I first started, old. Those spearmen, Night Goblin spearmen, were vicious. Anybody who was around during the time will have at least one scar from them on their arms, leaning over to pick up some dead. Right in the arm. It happened. The metal ones were even worse. God love old Games Workshop. They really did try and kill you. But yeah, I'm going to pop these out, and then we're going to have a look. Give me 1 minute, guys. So we are back, and the first one that we're going to look at is the Squig Hoppers. Now, what a lot of people have asked, as in my friends and stuff, because obviously this is the first part of the video, so you guys didn't even know it was coming. But what a lot of my friends are asking is why I do not base them with round bases, so that I can double dip into Age of Sigmar. And to be perfectly honest, it's because I think the new edition of Age of Sigmar sucks absolute ball sacks. I'm not a fan of it. I feel, much like with 40k, as it's leaning towards more tournament gamers, I find the game's pushing me out. And that's absolutely fine. If it's not for me anymore, that's okay. I'm not one of these people who throws a tantrum and says, "Oh, but this..." That's how you all sound, by the way, on the internet. If it's not for me anymore, that's okay. I'll move on. There's plenty of games that are. 40k now is hyper competitive to the point that all the races feel really dull. That's absolutely fine. There's multiple other 40k-esque games out there, one-page rules, etc. And it's the same with this. Age of Sigmar doesn't interest me. And even if it did, I've got my snaky women, whatever they're called these days, Daughters of Cain or Serpents of Jeff. Formerly Dark Elves. But yes. So, Squig Hoppers come with rules. Rules are good. It shows you the two different ways to make them. One of which is with the spears, or they're like lancers, which is what I'm going to be building mine with. And the other is with the hand weapon. And then it shows you how to build them across. Colour-coded. Again, big fan of that with Games Workshop. Yeah, and then what is really good, however, is of course you've got the two different rules for the two different types of units that this box can build on the back for if you do play Age of Sigmar, which, as I said, I don't. And round bases, which for all intents and purposes are absolutely dead to us. But that's okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to zoom in. As you can see, we are on the gaming table now. As opposed to recently I've been filming on the modelling table where I do all my crafting and stuff. This table's actually getting just as ruined now because we do scenery painting on here on weekends sometimes. But here you go. So we've got some of the riders on here. You can see all the different bits. And this does come on a few sprues actually. Here's some squig based bodies. God, I love squigs so much. I really, really do. And then you have two more frames here, which are actually different. All these frames are different, which is good. So you've got squig heads, mouths, a couple of goblin-y bits, I think. Oh, no, these are all squigs, actually. So, yeah, so you've got all your squigs there. And I am going to show you a couple of built-up squigs. And they will be on square bases, as I said, though. I have checked, and the books are really, really good, actually. So, again, mouths and things. So, the rule book, the book with all the list of points in, is it the Ravening Hordes book? It's as if I do my research. I definitely do not. But it does say that these come on 25mm bases, which I think, again, is really cool that it actually lists it there so that you can... you don't go and buy the wrong bases and things like that. And you can buy them all kinds of places. War bases have an MDF. You can buy plastic and MDF ones on Amazon and eBay. Games Workshop actually sell a big pack of, I think it's 100 for about £30, which, to be fair, isn't that unreasonable. Games Workshop, you've done us a bit of a solid there. Me personally, as I said, going to get Vince to 3D print them because he's a good egg like that, I suppose. So, yeah, more bases. You'll get enough there to do all 10 squigs and then the 2 herders that come in the pack. Because with Old World, I don't know if it's the same with Age of Sigmar, as I said, don't care. For every 5, you need 1 herder. So for 10 squigs, I need 2 herders. So as you can see here, colour-coded as always. Shows you how to build them. Now this box again can be built in 2 different ways. One way is the squig herdery. Oh no, I'm thinking of the squig hoppers. Ignore me, this is just squig. Yeah. Oh, you can build the herders, in different ways. You can give them the bagpipes, or I think they can have, like, proddy spears and things like that. I like the guy with the cymbals. I say guys, obviously, he's a goblin. But, yeah. And then you've got this one over here. Yeah, luckily, they are at least, like, actual goblins. I'm not a fan of the look of the Age of Sigmar orcs. Or whatever they're called, oryx these days, isn't it? But yeah, so you get here, you've got the squig herder, or 2 squig herders on this frame. And then on the other frame, it's still squigs. And much like the other one, you've got your mouths that go on separately, and then you've got your bodies. And then there's obviously some intricacies like that guy. He's one of my favourites, where he's got the little goblin in his mouth. Really, really like that one. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to go across to the big box. So I'm going to have to zoom out for that, at least for now. Now, this one will have a lot of the same sprue in there because, as I said, there's 40 models in there. First thing you notice, 25mm square bases. Sadly, I wish there was like 80 in there, but there's not. There's only enough for the models in there. It's going to feel really weird having goblins on that size base, but it is what it is. You've got command sprue here. Let's slide that out of the way so you can actually see. So you got a couple of these banners. I love these style banners, actually, the old Games Workshop banners for fantasy. Some of my favourite banners of all time. You can print out transfers, and you can print stuff out and put them on. You can buy transfers. Some sets come with transfers. You can paint by hand. Orc stuff looks really good when it's painted by hand because it gives it that orky feel that you can't really get away with some others. Now, I'm doing my orcs specifically as Bad Moons. I've seen Night Goblins, very Bad Moony anyway. But yep, so you get 2 command sprues, which is fair enough, because as I said, it's basically 2 big units in there, or you can split them up into smaller units. And then here we have goblin legs, goblin little hats, yeah, goblins, spears, which is what I'm going to have. I'm going to have some archers as well, though. Look at these, look at those gobble little faces, got all of them so much. Look how much character these faces have. Just remember as well, these were all hand-sculpted stuff. None of this is that BS. To be fair, I'm always giving it shit, but I actually don't mind. I do. I'm absolutely horrific, and I give it crap constantly. But I actually quite like 3D sculpts. There's nothing wrong with them at all. It's just that I think there's usually too much going on. So this is one of my favourite things on here. Snotlings. I love snotlings. I am, because I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, and there's some mushrooms and other stuff on there as well. So I've got 8 sprues worth, which means I've got 8 snotlings, which is enough to put on a base. So I'll need to check on the size of the bases. But I absolutely am going to be able to have snotlings. A base of snotlings, which is cool because I love snotlings. Mainly, again, because of 40k, where I used to fire them out of a shock attack gun. Now, a lot of you are thinking, well, why would you need snotlings for that? But let me tell you something, people. Back in 2nd edition, you had to have the ammo for the shock attack gun. So you had to have bases of snotlings. Now, as I recall, with the shock attack gun, you got 1 base of snotlings. And we played Warhammer Quest, so my dad built me some more bases of snotlings. But you had to pay for the extra bases of snotlings as well. So you bought your ammo. It was really cool, but the shock attack gun materialized snotlings inside you and they ate you from the inside out. So, F yes. Old school Games Workshop all the way. Here you go. Some really cool Bad Moon transfers, which was obviously what we were talking about before. These are just for shields, though. And then you get all the shields. Now, these are old school Games Workshop shields. Look at that. Look at that date. 1993. Now, a lot of you weren't even born when this kit came out. 1998. I don't know if you can read it there. 1998 on the Goblins. So, yeah. So, as I said, what I'm going to go do now is I'm going to go away and I'm going to build some squigs, that's the word. I'm going to build some goblins. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you them. We'll talk a bit about it through the hobby. As I said, I'm going to run through my thought process on things. But yeah, as I said, I want to start with Night Goblins because I love Night Goblins. Night Goblins are the coolest of all goblins. Next thing I will buy, once I've finished off the Night Goblins section, which means I need to buy a pack of 5 Fanatics. I'm not going to use all 5 Fanatics. That's just how much Games Workshop sell them in. If I win these characters on eBay, I don't need any more. If not, I have to pick up each of the different packs. You can buy a pack of 4 bosses, I think it is, and 3 shamans, or 4 shamans and 5 bosses, or something like that. But for Night Goblins, you do need Night Goblin bosses or characters in order to take them. So it's each one of those characters, you can take a unit of herders, a unit of hoppers, and a unit of night goblins. So I need at least 2 characters, which is where I came up with this idea of building these little tribes. But yeah, so anyway, to cut a long story short, the next thing I will be buying once all the goblins are done is I will be buying the £105 Night Goblins, Orc and Goblin starter set that comes with 30 orcs, 40 goblins, and 2 chariots. The chariot will feature heavily because I'm going to convert one up to be my general, and the other one's just going to be a chariot. And then the goblins and the orcs are going to be the start of my 2 significant orc set and goblin set. And then for the savage orc set, I'm going to build, again, a big unit of savage orcs with some of the ram things, the battering rams. I don't know if they've changed the name of them in the new edition. I'm going to add some trolls in, some of the river trolls, because I think they fit quite nicely with my savage orcs, and I might add some giants and things like that. So I'm going to go really back to my old savage orc Warhammer fantasy list. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to jump on board with this. I really do want to get things built and get things painted before I add more to it. It means I'm not going to play for ages, but better that than, fielding fields of grey, as it were. Fielding fields of grey. That's the kind of alliteration nonsense you come to this channel for. So yeah, guys, what I'm going to do now, because I've babbled on an obscene amount to you guys, I know it's kind of what I do. I'm going to go build some bits. As I said, depending on how I'm getting on with these squigs, and how much I'm watching the new season of Cobra Kai, which I have already been spoiled that it does a third come back in February or March or whatever my mate said it was. So yeah, they've split the final season into 3. I'm not happy about it. That's an aside. But yeah, so I will be watching stuff while I'm building. So it all depends. I might film some little B-roll of me building stuff with some jazzy music in the background or something like that, so that I don't have to keep pausing what I'm doing. But yeah, I'll be back in a second, guys. Or a second for yous. You know the deal. You've watched one of our videos before, I assume. So, hello guys and welcome back. As you can see, I have skipped the building step. Now, I did film some of it, but I didn't think the content was really that exciting. It was just me scraping mold lines and gluing models together. They're all pretty much A goes into B, goes into C, goes into D, generic Games Workshop these days style. So, I didn't bother. I've just left it out. I have built the movement trays, as you can see, and I will say that I don't think the movement trays are really worth the money anymore. £30 or nearly £30, 28 or something like that for 2 sheets of movement tray. That same kit used to be like £8, something like that. It's not worth it at all. Go to somewhere like Warbases, go to eBay, you can get some MDF ones. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the army for the end of this video. Now, my friend from our games club has printed off a few little 3D prints just to test it out. So what we're going to do here is we have 10. These 10 here are the 10 squigs that came in the set, which is the Age of Sigmar. I have gone handheld, so you probably will have to put up with a little bit of shaking. We've got the 2 herders here. Now, this one is a herder I've converted up from one of the Hobgoblin kits. I think it's Hobgoblins for Age of Sigmar. So I've got a 3rd herder here. And this one, this little beauty here, was 3D printed for me. In the second video, though, Diary Entry 2, that is the model that I'm going to paint up for you guys. I'm going to do them in traditional red. I am going to have my squigs varying colours. But anyway, we're going to go across now, and you can see here the squig riders, squig hoppers, sorry. These are absolute nightmare to rank up. I had to build these in a very, very specific way. Now, I know I didn't need to rank them up because they are skirmishers. But skirmishers can be ranked or unranked, depending on what you need them to do and when. So, they did need to still line up. I really, really like the models though. I am looking forward to getting them painted. As you can see, I didn't end up going with the lances in the end, purely because they were a nightmare to fit together. So I went with the hand weapons. It's not a big deal. Going down here, you can see I built some snotlings. You get a snotling on each sprue as we commented on. So I've put 4 on each sprue with some little mushrooms and things like that dotted about just to give it a little bit of a difference. Now, I am going to get some more snotlings because 3 bases of snotlings with their unbreakable nature is pretty good, and I think I'll be into it. One thing I don't think I mentioned, or I think I may have mentioned incorrectly when I was talking about the Orcs and Goblins, I did mention it's the 1998 kit. I didn't mention, however, that there has been another kit since, which is the one that comes with the goblin netters and things like that. I was quite disappointed when I was building these to find out that these aren't the most recent Night Goblin kit, with, you know, going back to sort of 7th, 8th edition of Fantasy, but these are the much older ones, as we said, from 1998, so you're looking at around the age of like some of the Skaven and the Chaos Warriors and those really intensive, very, very heavy multi-part kits. But yeah, so as you can see here, I built 12 archers, and then I built a big block here of like 29 or something like that. 5, 10, 15, 25, 29. Yep. Now a couple of them are 3D prints when we were just testing size and stuff like that. And I do need to get a couple of netters to go in there, because although netters are an upgrade for the unit, I like to show that because I don't like catching my opponent off guard. And then we did a test print of a spider, and then a test print of a couple of little characters here. I do still need to pick up some characters for this. But yeah, I'm really happy with this so far. This is not the full extent of the Night Goblin parts of it. I need to pick up some fanatics, as I mentioned in the previous video. I need to either buy from eBay 1 or 2 netters or get a couple 3D printed. But this is a good start to my army. So as I said, next video what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint up a Squig. And then maybe part 3 I'm going to paint up a Night Goblin. Then what I will do is I will move on to unboxing the next set, which will be the Orc starter set. Now that comes with Orcs, Goblins, and 2 chariots. I'm very much looking forward to diving into that. And in fact, I've started to build the movement trays ready. They're over off to the side with some other projects, so I won't show you them. I will stress they are Trench Crusade related though, so... because there's a hype, I'm going to be on it. But no, the game looks really good. But yes, so I'm very, very excited to sort of plod on with this. As always, guys, if this is the first time that you've watched one of our videos, please check out some of the others. We cover a lot of things, and they're not always given the Age of Sigmar hate. So that's very specific to this video. We cover things like Fallout, we cover bold action, we love historical gaming in general. We're covering Baron's War recently. Necromunda makes a lot of trips onto our channel. Yeah, we've got a lot coming up, a lot of unboxings. We're going to start doing a lot more painting stuff, and we're going to get back to gaming eventually. In case anyone was wondering what happened with that, and I know you are because we get the comments about it all the time. We did make ourselves a promise that we weren't going to film any games until we have fully painted stuff, which means at least 2 of us need to have fully painted stuff. Now, with certain games, one of us will have fully painted, and with other games, another person will. Now, out of all the people who appear on our channel, which I know it's mainly just myself, Vince, and Sparks, but then there's Liam, Alan's appeared, Nate's appeared. Like, finding 2 of us that have a painted army of the same game system or painted warband gets slimmer and slimmer. But yeah, guys, thanks very much for watching. I hope you want to take this journey with me. Let me know down in the comments what your favourite Warhammer Old World army is. Whether you're waiting for something to come out. I know a lot of people are waiting on Empire or High Elves. Wood Elves. Some people want Ogres. I know Sparks wanted Ogres. He has gone Dwarves now. I think I mentioned in the first part he might be going Dwarves. Since then, he has decided Dwarves. But yeah, guys. Always appreciate every bit of feedback you give us, whether that's likes, comments, shares. hitting the bell for notifications, all that kind of thing. It really does help the channel out. Thank you very much for your time. Pray the dice gods. Hope they smile upon you, and take care. Bye, guys.